About a year ago, Paul and Morgan started a series called 24 Hours With, where they would spend a whole day with different religious YouTubers. Now, I don't know most of these people. I don't know Ruslan. I don't know the New Evangelicals. And I don't know Josh Benson. The only reason I know Sister Cindy is because she came to my college while I was in college and played baseball with a bunch of college kids to determine whether or not they were going to hell. That's not a joke. She stood outside the Fine Arts building, put a chair down, let people sit at the chair, and then pretended to throw a baseball and would ask a question. She would say something like, "Do you think gay sex is wrong?" And then the person sitting down would answer, "No." And she would go, "Strike one." And so she ended up with a group of people around her cheering on the batters. And at some point, a dude walks up, doesn't sit down, gets in his full stance. Sister Cindy does what Sister Cindy does and throws her 17-mile-an-hour curveball. Before she could say strike, guy swings, looks up, screams like he homered it. And everyone just starts clapping. And then he ran around her. And it was really funny to watch for the first 4 minutes. But then no matter what anyone said, no matter how anyone answered, no matter how unserious people were taking her, she just kept going. And at some point it went from haha, this is fun, to this feels like you're watching a 4-year-old throw a tantrum and they don't understand the words you're saying. So maybe just let them burn themselves out, I guess. But today's episode is not about Sister Cindy. Today's episode is about Bethany Beal. Bethany Beal is the latter half of Girl Defined. Bethany Beal is a woman who bought a wedding dress on the day that her sister was buying hers, even though she was single. Bethany Beal is a woman who runs out of breath ranting in her car about how trans women aren't women. And so today we're watching Paul and Morgan, two conservative fundamentalist Christians who very recently did an interview about how they never had a honeymoon phase, and thank God, because they immediately got to work in their relationship and now they love each other. It only took 7 years. Anyway, let's watch Paul and Morgan and Bethany Beal spend 24 hours together.
The division between Christians online is immense. In this series, we will press into tough conversations, disagree with love, and humanize the person behind the screen.
Join us as we discover the real lives of some of the most influential Christian figures.
Hey,
The real lives of Christian wives, and it just being them would be such a terrible thing to watch that I feel like I would have to watch it.
we had the opportunity to spend the day with Bethany from Girl Define. Bethany runs Girl Define with her sister Kristen. Their goal is to help modern girls live out God's timeless truth for womanhood.
They do a bad job of that, but if that's their goal, that's their goal.
Received a lot of hate for their videos and strong stances. Is some of the criticism warranted? Are Kristen and Bethany legalistic Christians living in an echo chamber? What about
They're at the very least problematic, and if you go on anti-trans rants, I will assume that you are bad people, so take that as you will.
the Christians they've started to upset?
We'll get an honest look into Bethany and Dave's marriage and the challenges of living in the spotlight while seeing some things very differently. This video is loaded. Get ready.
Modesty. Have your views changed?
They do want to see our relationship fall apart. Even though they might be like, we hope you and Bethany stay together, they don't really hope that.
I mean, the pushback for growing probably comes more from Christians.
I saw a video, 33 million views, reacting to you guys.
Girl Defined.
Girl Defined.
Girl Defined.
The new Girl Defined video.
It is conceivable that the haters are willing to tell you things about yourself that nobody else is willing to tell you.
What is happening? What?
Oh! We were painting very black lines.
I wish that y'all would more befriend people.
Their audio is kind of all over the place, so I'm trying to find a good place to where it's not too quiet, but it's also not super loud, because him specifically is starting to clip. They are way below that, and I'm not an audio person.
Rather than choosing to view them as other, the kind of the bad ones.
I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to this at all.
A lot of these Christians act like I'm literally writing an erotic novel. Did he really shock y'all?
Yes,
Yeah.
they've shocked us.
I don't know. Neither of us just feel like we have to think the same to have a really amazing marriage.
Are you still processing what just happened?
Something that I think a lot of people struggle with, and specifically them, is that they understand when they are taking criticism, but not what the criticism is. These people are unfortunately the loudest ones, right? These people and mega church pastors. And so they make not only their entire religion, but everyone within the religion look really bad. Over or under, when they were like, hey, let's sing for the camera, did Paul go, but not Morgan? I hate how Morgan's always singing, dude, and she thinks she's good at it. Disgusting.
Modesty? Did you already talk about modesty? No? Okay. Men's modesty.
I mean, men's modesty in our household has come a long way. There was not that long ago, maybe 2 years ago, I didn't want Dave to leave the house or work out without a shirt on, swim without a shirt on. I just thought, like, I don't want ladies seeing my man's big muscles. But it's like a change of perspective. It's more like he does it. It's okay to be an attractive person. You don't have to like hide your body completely, like, to be modest.
Something I don't do generally, and especially not about people who aren't men, is talk about how attractive they are. It's not any of my business, but that hurt my feelings a little bit to see Bethany have this like realization of like, oh, I guess it's okay to be attractive. I have never felt that way about myself. And that is immediately me digging way too deep into that, but that seems to be where that stemmed from.
Like, where you're just like going around naked, but like just because you are attractive doesn't mean that's a problem. So now he runs and swims shirtless. Well, we'll get some tacos.
You heathens. That means you're like a few years away from him running and swimming completely naked. I'm gonna cut out large chunks of this because like right now they just want to go get food. Paul rated the food. Like there's nothing special going on. I'm unfortunately a little jealous of them moving on to a second coffee spot. Back when I started making content, I wrote notes down of like everything I wanted to come out of it. And in terms of like a monetary goal, because I lived in downtown San Diego, California, right? So my expenses were pretty big. And so I was never like, I want to make content full time. But one thing that I wrote down was make enough money to not feel bad about buying coffee once a day. And I never did that because coffee is expensive. Even when I first started making enough money to do that off Twitch, I didn't do it because I would have felt so bad about spending the money. But they're on to their second coffee shop and that is a life I'm envious of. On our way to an impromptu ice bath with Dave. I don't like that he spells Dave like Dave Pilkey. And then Paul on the other side is dressed as Captain Underpants.
You, from talking to you briefly, would be the type of Christian that I would push back on. Like,
All the time. Well, you're not the only one.
say like, yeah, we started hanging out. I was like, hey, Dave, it's the cussing, man. Like, why are you cussing? And then I maybe would quote a Bible verse like, let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't even hear what he said.
I would rather my husband cuss all the time than my husband constantly find ways to sneak in our sex life and the fact that I wasn't a virgin into our videos. Like, it's fine not to like swearing. You're not going to find very many examples of me swearing in videos or on stream, but I would rather the person I was with just swear all the time than also be like, yeah, remember that time when like I bought whipped cream? We didn't have a honeymoon phase, but I bought whipped cream to us that one time, remember? Yeah, that was fun. We almost lasted a whole hour. Our first time. The one in this conversation saying, hey, what's with all the swearing is the one that speaks that way.
Did he just cuss at me?
Oh, wow. When someone says, well, what does the Bible say? I typically will hear a certain type of what I would call biblicism underlying that, a theory of the Bible that often we just take as self-evidently true. This is what the Bible is. A lot of this stuff is actually, it's more difficult when you actually get down to the conversations. I have found it's easy for each side. Oh, you're a fundamentalist. Oh, you're a progressive. It's easy to kind of hurl like, oh, progressives are just relativists, or fundamentalists are just dogmatists. But the reality is, I think we all have beliefs that we think are true, and we all have relativisms.
So Dave is a person I get a lot of comments on about his deconstructing, and it makes sense to kind of go that way once you figure this out, that within this section of like hyper religion, where people take things not only too seriously or too literally, but interpret things their own way for their own benefit, I interpret it this way to back up what I say rather than I live the way that the Bible is telling me to. It's really easy to be like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of that. I do not want to be a part of the people that go, the Bible doesn't necessarily say, hey, don't say the word, but because I don't like saying those words, I'm going to say that the Bible does. And I don't know the exact quote, but if the Bible says to keep filth out of your mouth, I would assume that means also just randomly telling people about your sex life and not just like swearing.
Operating as well. When your view is one that the Bible should just be this clear thing we all sort of have access to, and the Holy Spirit just teaches us what to believe. Well, you got tons of groups out there who all claim the Holy Spirit as their teacher, coming to different conclusions.
A lot of groups, but you do see a lot of unity as well around the fundamental doctrines. And then there, to me at least, and then you see the splitting with the secondary issues, and that's, you know, one of the goals of this series. But yeah, man, you're a deep guy. Have you ever, you're familiar with the expression, don't be so open-minded that your brain falls out?
I don't like the youth pastor speak of like vague thought affirmation and then a steering into something else. Where he goes, yeah, you know, like I see that a lot, but there's also a lot of unity. Very vague thought. Then he goes, you're a deep guy, you know, you're really smart to try and like put yourself in a trusting position. And then at the end you go, but like if you're not in that position to be like this youth pastor, then don't be. Like you're two adults having a conversation. Speak like adults.
It's absolutely horrible. I respect this man so much more. Hey.
So Bethany went from not even liking when her man is shirtless in public or in anywhere where someone else might see him, to watching her man shirtless in a tub with another man shirtless kissing his hand. Good for them. That's progress.
So good. It's so interesting, like being together in person and like getting to talk about our similar experiences, especially when it comes to like negative online experiences. Like, we don't often have that camaraderie of like, wow, someone who understands and gets us.
It's just so fun to get like the behind the scenes of y'all's whole inner workings of how, because we know how we do things at Girl Define, and it's a lot of similar stuff, different, but like getting the behind the scenes and talking about, you know, like the conflicts in marriage right before you record, how you are.
This is just off the conflicts of marriage thing, but I genuinely felt really bad watching the clip of Morgan go, yeah, we never had a honeymoon phase, but like that just means we got to work on our marriage immediately. Like that sucks, dude. Like you never got to be happy with your partner. You just ended up getting used to each other. Like that hurts. And she was 20. It feels like she just lost a lot of her life. And maybe this is love, but it feels like a sunk cost. It feels like she just put way too much time into it and now just like can't leave. But if she says she's happy, I'm going to believe her. I don't believe her, but I'm going to pretend that I do.
Through those before you talk about the Lord.
I don't think that I could do anything like this with my sister, so.
Really? You and I, we've had some this is like the best, probably the last 2 years or so are the most peaceful and the best Girl Define has ever been between us.
Yeah.
We went through a time where it was like a few years ago where we were like, we have to find a counselor. We have to find someone who specializes like in like ministry counseling. Because
family,
we just
working together, relationships.
We just could not like see eye to eye on like how to operate the ministry and like what to do, and we just both grew and matured somehow through that, and it just has
and we
like,
changed the way we operate.
Yeah.
Have we met a pair of these Christians that get along? I just went through a Paul and Morgan video where they ended up talking about divorce, where partway through the video they admitted that they were fighting the day before, and that they still weren't like completely over it. And then Girl Define is now like, oh, you know, we had a really long period of time where we weren't getting along. And then when they get on camera, like, I'm going to go ahead and say that these people aren't characters, right? Paul doesn't turn the camera on and then go, this is a different version of Paul. Should not be confused with the real Paul. They turn themselves up by like 10% and they speak, but it feels like they're lying. It would be uncomfortable to watch them just fight on camera, but to pretend that they don't is weird. To act like they're happy together, especially alone together, to preach something that nobody really needs to hear is gross.
Healthy patterns of.
So we didn't actually end up doing the counseling, but it's been like,
It was a great idea.
just sometimes the thought.
Awesome.
Also, they never go to counseling. These people are always like, yeah, you know, we can fix it at home. And then fixing it is just ignoring it.
No,
It's like really
seriously,
amazing.
yeah.
It's like that's so I feel like that's why we can keep going, because we've gotten to a place where we are functioning super well.
Here was one debrief. They are very high energy.
Is that just a way to run a relationship? Have I been doing it wrong my entire life? Do I need to just like pick a person, get into a fight so big that no fight will ever reach that level again and just say, hey, we've been through harder things? Is that all that is?
Like as soon as that camera goes on and you heard Bethany's like intro,
Today on the Girl Define show, we are so excited to have Paul and Morgan.
immediately she like dove in talking a mile a minute. And I like, it took me a minute to like process. And then I was like, all right, I gotta like raise my energy a little bit.
Are you still processing what just happened? Hey, you can play things back half speed.
That's true. Maybe you.
I listen to everything on speed and a half, but we tell people for our channel,
That makes sense.
like back half speed.
You do not want to listen to this on a
Hilarious.
speed and a half. Hey, I want to commend them though, on the record. They were here before we started. They were some of our inspirations and helped us get the ball rolling, and they are still going hard, and that is like that is rare in this space. This is not an easy space to have longevity.
In ministry
Thank
alone,
you.
but then
That's
also
so nice.
YouTube. Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
I often think of what hell would be for me. I often think of if there is a heaven, there is a hell, there is a purgatory, and I end up in hell, what would it be? I don't believe in this like Minecraft nether of a hell where everything's just on fire. I would believe a lot more in like the good place type of hell, where they put you in an environment to end up doing something you don't like for the rest of your life. Did I die? Because I feel like I'm doing it to myself. I feel like watching these videos is my own little version of hell, and I'm doing it to myself.
Like having
He's still coming. Like knowing why we're here, because it's like now that we're both moms, you know, like that's a priority and that's really important. And so we've had to really adjust. So we actually have 2 other people that work for us.
Like even for us, something we've kind of struggled with at times is we've been on the platform for 7 years. We're not the same people.
Yeah.
And even like some of our views, like I would say, hopefully, and in so many ways we've grown and we've matured as believers, but some of our views have shifted a little bit.
For sure.
Girl defined now versus girl defined 5 years ago.
I wonder if when people like Paul and Morgan look at their views and then notice that they've gone down over the years, what they attribute that to. Because it wouldn't make sense to me to watch them grow as people, and especially within the religion, and just see that decline. I think it's more so that like people realize that they're unlikable. But I wouldn't be surprised if Paul said something like, oh, we grew and the ministry didn't grow with us. Or as we've like developed these new different views, other people have not. But I think a big thing between them has been like, oh, they were like a cute couple with interesting ideas. They're no longer a cute couple. I cannot watch a video of them together without feeling bad for Morgan. And I think most people here are going to agree with that, but you don't have to. That's just how I actually feel every time I see them together. And it's gone away from hear how we think we live our lives as good Christians to hear our lives with the expectation of people understanding that they are Christian, when most of what they do is just use the Bible as a, yeah, we fight, but like we're married. The Bible says that we have to stay married. So we just, we move on. We'll fight again. Your relationship with your wife, and this may be a hot take, should not be pretty similar to Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, which is just like fight after fight after fight after fight with a little bit of sexual tension. Imagine they're role playing and he's dressed as Spider-Man and she's dressed as the Green Goblin and she's like goblining around and he's like, come here, starts pulling her. And then she starts singing, and then he goes, all right, Morgan, you ruined it. Get away from me. She's a good singer, dude. I don't know why he hates her so much.
You guys have gotten some pretty heavy criticism, and you guys know, honestly, can we
just talk about that?
They have been through it. They have been through it. Like, man.
Like the most hated Christian channel out there, I feel like.
100% Paul is jealous. Paul wants to be the one in these reaction commentary videos getting millions of views.
That sounds, that's not to say like you guys just get it, man. And so one thing I'm wondering, modesty. You guys have some videos where you are now versus where you were, say, 5 years ago. And actually one of our patrons said to ask you guys that. Have your views changed on modesty?
I don't care about modesty. I think we should judge these people based on their extremes, because I don't care if you're a nice person and you shake my hand. I want to know if you're racist, if you're transphobic, if you're problematic. I want to know those things so that I know whether or not I want to deal with you. So, modesty, who cares? Ask her if she still feels the same way about trans people that she did a year ago. Ask her if that's changed at all. Another thing with these channels is that, and this is going to sound a little hypocritical because I'm also boring, is that they're boring. Like, there's only so many times you can say the same rage-inducing sentences before people realize you don't actually have anything to say. Oh, yeah. Our views on modesty have changed drastically. I used to think being a man and wearing a shirt was normal. Now I think being a man and not wearing a shirt is also normal. So like I've completely changed as a person from when I was 18 to 30. That's the only thing that's changed. I'm so much more interested in the way that you weaponize religion and whether or not that can change. I'm a little less worried about the way they monetize religion. I still think it's weird, but it makes sense, I guess, for them to have like books, pamphlets, and their YouTube channels monetized. It does get into that conversation of like, if this is really for the good of people, why wouldn't you make like the pamphlets free? Which I agree, but I'm not going to be them, and I'm not going to pretend that everything they do is for the good of people. Like at some point, whether or not they admit it, I made a very conscious decision to be like, oh no, they know what they're doing. They absolutely know what they're doing.
Have your views changed on modesty?
We have a great podcast that we recorded on that. What was that one? Oh, it was called How Our Views on Modesty Have Changed.
There we go.
They have changed. But I think they've changed more so in the fact that we were painting very black lines in scripture of like modesty is this, it isn't this, and drawing these lines and these boundaries and saying this is what's biblical and this is what isn't. And we've come to realize the scripture doesn't actually draw those lines that we were drawing. It talks about modesty and women should care about it, but not in the ways that we were drawing lines. Like our version of modesty wasn't 100% biblical, I guess.
That comes all the way back to like my number one thing with these people is they do not live off the Bible. They interpret the Bible in the way that they want to and then use the Bible to say, see, it's what the Bible says, even though it's not. They figured it out about modesty. Can they figure it out about anything else?
So coming to terms of just realizing like our perspective was our opinion, but not biblical truth. And we've even changed in some of our opinions of what we believe about modesty and our views on just, I don't know, like what would you add?
Well, I mean, we don't even think the same on it exactly now. Like we've changed. I think especially for me, like getting married. So I was like single for much longer than you. And so I had all these ideas of like, oh, modesty and men and like all of this stuff. And then getting married to Dave and him sharing more of like his actual thoughts with me. And then me really asking myself, why do I feel like this certain thing is modest and this isn't? And something for me even recently that I've really realized is that I had this idea that almost like if like attraction was almost like immodest. And so for me, I wanted to wear more like looser clothing, not really show the fact that I was a woman because I thought, oh, that's like part of the problem. And almost like even as a married person that you should never even think anyone else or any other human is like attractive. And so I've realized like, it's okay. Like I can be out in the world and see a man who is attractive and just be like, oh, that's an attractive man and move on with my day. I don't have to be like, oh my gosh, well, you know, or that Dave will see obviously there are other beautiful women in the world, you know, obviously what he does with that is a different story, but like he can see other women in the world and be like, they're beautiful and move on with his day. So that has been like part of the growth journey for me.
So that is much further ahead of people like David Hammond who are like, you shouldn't be attracted to these women. That's the devil inside of them trying to trap you. It is a very normal feeling to find other people attractive or to be able to say someone is attractive without feeling this sense of shame and like, oh, I'm attracted to them. I have to do something about it. I have to say something about it. No. You think I've ever DM'd Anne Hathaway? Nope. Have I thought about it? Yeah. Have you not? That's my goal. I want to have enough subscribers to where if I DM Anne Hathaway, she goes, oh, Max, and she opens it.
And move on with his day. So that has been like part of the growth journey for me. And I think that's contributed toward some of the change in conversation as well for us.
Yeah.
Let me go a step further. Look at someone like Joshua Harris. You guys are obviously familiar.
Okay, there's a weird sound in their background, and I didn't know if it was me or them. It's them.
Joshua Harris. He looks back at his past, and he went so far as to make apologies for it, say this was harmful, because my views on purity culture, they caused harm to people, and now he's like one of the leaders in the deconstruction movement. When you look back, are you like inclined to say, man, we caused harm because we made it look too black and white, or are you more like, no, we still believe that, but we could have worded it a little better?
We haven't.
That's a really good question. The problem is it should be more specific. This should be about actual issues and not something like modesty. Modesty is just easier to talk about. But there are plenty of things that they have said, and I'll go back to the trans one because that is such a vivid memory in my head of Bethany sitting in her car out of breath going, these women aren't even like women anymore. That is something that like I'm never going to sit down and be like, oh, I forgive you. One, that has nothing to do with me, right? Like I'm not part of the trans community. Second, I'm not their audience. But I think that's something that when you move away from those problematic ideas, you should sit back and go, sorry about that. I'm sorry for the people who had those ideas that I backed up and still have those ideas, or who may have hurt people physically, emotionally, whatever. I'm sorry about that. You should be able to apologize for the person you were if you were problematic and are no longer so. For most of us, when we have ideas like that, and not necessarily the trans one, but when we have ideas that aren't so nice to other people, we grow out of it pretty quickly. I was so much meaner than I am now, and in the wrong ways when I was 18, 19. By the time I was 21, I was like, oh, that's whack, Max. And that's it. Never happened again. I really don't see anything wrong with apologizing for who you once were if who you once were did in some way hurt other people. And it's not like it has to be like an active, I feel bad for you right now. It could be like a, hey, I understand that I hurt you. Sorry. My name is Earl should have gotten a proper ending.
I shouldn't apologize. apology.
No, we haven't. In our podcast episode, it was us just saying this is how we've grown. This is how God has changed us and even our understanding of like interpreting scripture and being careful to not put our own interpretation on what scripture is saying and adding to it. But even looking back on like the way that we approach modesty, we would even say, I remember, even in our little booklet that we wrote on modesty, we were very intentional to say, we're just showing you examples of what we do, but this isn't what you have to do. The podcast episode we did on it was us just saying like, this is how the Lord has grown us.
As an adult, you should learn to apologize. That's it. That's all that is. This isn't like a general rule. You don't have to apologize to everyone. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of times in your adult life where you disagree with someone and you can end it there. But when you're pushing ideas to your audience that you no longer agree with, maybe a good time to apologize. If these people are like this as parents, that would suck. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, here's how you should parent. But having a parent that refuses to apologize and instead says, well, I've changed. Well, I've grown. Whatever. Like, move on. I've moved on. You should too. Is awful.
Always from the beginning of Girl Defined, I said, go to the word yourself. Like, even with the modesty, we were like, go to the word.
Well, can I just say, I saw the Project Modesty video. I think it's been removed. And for some of the reasons you were describing.
It can be really hard to find modest shirts right off the rack. But with a little creativity, you can make a lot of them work. Low-cut shirts. You can add a cami underneath, you can add a scarf on top, or a button-up underneath. And shirts that aren't fixable, just stitch them.
I wonder if this is the video that Anna Marie uses, where she does a video called I Let Girl Define Dress Me, or something like that.
Saying is, when in doubt, go without.
I kind of liked it. I got it, because you guys did get specific. I didn't feel from me watching it that it's like you have to do exactly what, you know, because you guys were like, you can dress modestly and
fashionably. It was like dressing modestly and fashionably. We were trying to inspire. Like, look at how you compare clothes.
Was it a little
shorts? Those outfits were scary back then. That was like 8 years ago.
Yeah, right. But was it maybe a little cheesy? Like, sure, some could say it was, or the.
We have many cheesy.
Hey, now we're offended. We thought it was really good.
But no, you guys were showing like, if you're gonna wear this shirt, if you want to wear it, maybe wear this type of shirt underneath it. If you're gonna wear this, and I'm like, it's just practical advice. So but I appreciate you guys saying like, you know, we've grown in this way, but we cannot expect a Girl Defined apology tour.
It's not gonna happen.
All right.
And what does it fix? What does it fix?
The what does it fix bothers me because it's so much more about their personalities than what it actually fixes. Again, I think it matters much less in like a video about modesty where you were like, let's show you how to wear these clothes, than in other videos where they have very obvious problematic ideas, where if they have changed or grown out of them, it would make a difference to sit down and be like, I'm sorry for the person that I was and the ideas that I've had. I understand they may have hurt people. And it's not that hard. Outside of your like very close personal relationships, you don't have to apologize for things that you are actually not sorry for. Sometimes that's going to be annoying, especially to other people. But in my close relationships, I've had plenty of times where I may have said something that I didn't realize was going to hurt someone's feelings and then did. And then it's not that hard to be like, oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's stuff that's like culturally okay at the time. Like if you were to say, I was a big fan of Kanye West in 2005, so was almost everyone else. But if you were to say I was a big fan of Kanye West in 2020, I would apologize for that. I would drop a very like, sorry, I was wrong. I was wrong about Kanye. Thought he was going to get better. And again, not that hard. It could be about anything. So if you had problematic ideas that you've grown out of, it shouldn't be a massive blow to your ego or against your entire character to be like, oh, my bad, G. But if it is, it just seems like someone who is entirely insufferable. Like that is the exact problem a lot of people have with their estranged parents, where they end up going, if they could just apologize for what they did to me as a kid, I'll move on. But then they don't. And even if they do at some point admit fault, they go, whatever, it was a long time ago. Or you were an annoying child. Or some sort of like deflection that doesn't fix the problem. And it's personality based. It no longer matters that the action was done. It matters that you are the type of person that cannot care about other people enough to just shut up and apologize.
Right.
What does it fix except for appease the haters, which that's not our goal.
No, they want you on the stake after that. They don't like.
We will share how we've grown
the
and
steak,
changed.
the fire. What is it called? The steak.
Oh, no,
The grill. They want you gone.
burned at the stake.
Yeah, they want you to do what Josh Harris did. They don't just want you to apologize.
Yeah.
They want you to completely deconstruct and have rainbow flags and do what he's doing.
So
We're not.
Damn, dude, having rainbow flags, What a terrible punishment.
No intentions to deconstruct
No.
from Girl Defined.
Not gonna happen.
We're not done with you, Dave.
He said he's not done with y'all either. So did he really shock y'all? What did he shock y'all with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dave shocked us.
We were shocked.
What was shocking?
How different you guys are.
Yeah.
Because you seem very much at peace
Mm-hmm.
with him working through this stuff and figuring out like where
Yeah.
he stands on things. What do you think? Why do you think you're so at peace with that?
To be the Christians that they are, they have to be, right? Because Paul said that the only reason divorce is okay is if one of them cheats on the other. So if Dave deconstructs but doesn't cheat, she just has to be okay with it, right? That's not necessarily my opinion. That is my interpretation of the way they speak. So if you have one that is more well thought out, I would love to read it in the comments.
I mean, from the beginning, honestly, like, a huge goal of mine in marriage was to not try to control my husband, and I had seen that done, like, so much, and it seems like there's a happy marriage on the front, you know, all of these conservative values and all of this, you know, like, going to the word and stuff, but then behind the scenes, there was, like, a lot of anxiety, or just, like, a lot of dysfunction. I didn't really care about Dave, like, putting, like, I mean, I did, but, like, I didn't want him to just appear a certain way for, like, my own ego or image or whatever. And you know, he grew up in a family where he knows the Bible frontwards and backwards, you know, like, he
said he's read it multiple times.
yeah,
too.
even just, like, in the years that we've been married, he's, you know, like, if he commits to something, he does it. So he did, like, 2 years back to back where he did, like, Bible reading plan, and he, like, never, you know, like, he absolutely finishes it. And, like, we'll do, like, Bible trivia games, and he, like, knows all of it. He's, like, extremely, like, highly churched, like, highly in the word, and the like fruit of some of that, like, just the anxiety and the struggle and the just, like, I don't know, like, it's just been difficult.
From the very little that I've seen of Dave, it looks like his deconstruction probably has a lot more to do with the other people within his religion than it does with religion itself. It's like being at a job where you're a team, right? And you like the job a lot, you like the company a lot, but you're the only person doing the work. Or the other people on that team are completely driving towards something different. And at some point, no matter how much you like it, you have to go, I don't agree with this path. I want to go my own way. And if that's why you're deconstructing, that makes sense to me. I would probably, if I was Dave in that situation, I would do the same thing. I don't like the way that these people think about religion. I don't like the way they weaponize it. I mean, I wouldn't be in this marriage, but if for some reason I woke up and I was him, I would remove myself. That's all speculative. I don't know anything about him. That is from the 4 minutes of him that I've seen in this video.
Someone who, like, is constantly seeking outside advice, and the mentors, our pastors, the men in his life, I highly respect and I think are really amazing. And so to me, he's a man, like, that is, like, very full of integrity. And so instead of having an interest in reading certain books or learning from certain teachers and me just being like, I don't like that, don't show that to me, I want to be more, like, inviting of that and being like, hey, I want to know, share that with me. And to be honest, like, who he is as a man now, and, like, his, like, I don't know, how he loves me, how he treats our family, his stability as a leader has only improved. And so, like, I feel like I have a better life.
Yeah.
So I guess it's something I'm not really afraid of, because I just, maybe some of this practical stuff that he's learning now was missed as he was growing up, and so it's almost like rewinding. And although not all of it's, like, from a Christian perspective, to me it seems like it's been really beneficial in his life. And now, well, like, we don't listen to all the same things and read all the same things, and we don't approach how we like if I want peace in my life, I am very much like, go to the word, and, like, my relationship with Christ is where I find that.
I know she said that he's, like, the leader, but I wonder how she and the people around her would feel about their child being religious in the same way that he is.
And that's not always the case for him, but, like, it doesn't bother me that much, which sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But
How do you feel like it will affect kids, like your all's kids, as they start to get older, start asking questions, like they ask him questions and about the Bible or about just like, you know, whatever, something very stereotypical that like Dave and you might see totally different on. How do you guys think you'll approach that?
Yeah. Well, he actually initiated and led us switching churches. So we were going to kind of like a basic Bible-believing, non-denominational type of church. And it's the church I grew up in. I was very comfortable there. And he wasn't super excited about it. And he really was the one who initiated us leaving. So now we go.
I know that this is like the first time meeting all together in person. I wish they would speak more like people and less like they were on camera.
To a small Lutheran church, which was so different than anything I grew up with. But that's kind of like as much as he might read all these books about philosophy or whatever, I don't know, all this other stuff, he is like the one who led our family into this church that is amazing. And I have learned and grown like so much as a Christian, and it's a place where I'm so excited to raise my kids and to raise a family. And I think that if I had tried to control that, like, no, I want to stay at our previous church, like that's scary to move churches, and now we're in this Lutheran church with all of this liturgy and, you know, like infant baptism and all these crazy things, we wouldn't have made this transition if I had like dug my heels in. But I was excited about it, and it was, even though it was a little scary.
Is infant baptism weird? I was baptized when I was like 2, maybe, but me and my sister got baptized together, and I'm 2 years older than her.
And that's like all because of Dave's leadership, you know? And so I feel like our kids are in a wonderful place. Like, although we might not agree on everything theologically or how we go about practically getting help, like he to me is someone who is like very much has like a true, genuine faith. It just looks really different from mine. But I view my kids as having like an incredible dad. And I think they're going to be like extremely stable and not manipulated into the faith, or not like coerced into like, you need to look this way and act this way, and then when they get older, like ditch it. I think they have a dad who's extremely authentic and genuine, and in the long run, to me, that's like gonna go so much further than him looking like this, you know, ideal Christian man, whatever that is. If that makes sense.
Yeah, very interesting.
Morgan's like, no.
No.
Hey.
No, I think that is a much better way and much healthier way to do it than what Paul and Morgan are going to do. There's no real place here for me to like interject my opinion. These are like real people with real lives, and though I disagree with a lot of what they have to say, I would have to be an entirely different person to wish for anything in their lives and anything in their children's lives to go bad. I am a little curious to know how Paul feels about Dave, because Paul seems like the kind of guy who would be jealous very quickly if another man was leading in the way that he wants to be a leader. If for whatever reason the Paul and Morgan project fails, right? Whether it's a YouTube channel, their hobbies outside of it, or their marriage, it will be Paul's fault to everyone except Paul. Paul is the one who picked a 20-year-old. Paul is the one who picked what they're doing with their lives. Paul is the one who makes all the decisions. And so if it fails, it's on him. That sounds a little like it might be heavy for him until you realize it's like what he purposefully did.
Your all's marriage, you gotta figure it out.
How are you holding up, Bethany?
Good. Can I get y'all a snack? Oh, look what I have. Look, does anyone need a bar?
Oh, ho! We got bars.
I mean, between the two of us, for sure, like who's influenced the other more, like in our relationship, for sure Dave's influenced me more. Okay. Like I've for sure become more like him. Yeah. And so I guess less kind of like my family, less how I was raised.
Yeah.
Is that hard for your family to see?
I think they're just like, oh, Dave and Bethany, they're random.
I don't. Two crazy kids.
Everyone so far has been like super respectful and like very much like, you know, as adults, like respecting each other's views. Maybe if we were like ditching the faith or something, but it's like we're still super strong Christians. It just looks different in some of the gray areas and secondary issues. I want my views to be challenged because I don't just want to live in a certain way or believe things because I've always believed them and they're like not actually.
She wants her views to be challenged by someone who already has similar views. When they're challenged by people in the comment section, they're just haters.
True or beneficial. There might be a better way to live.
I have a feeling that like a lot of people who watch your stuff, who watch your stuff, are like, she just lives in an echo chamber. She's not surrounded by anyone with differing opinions. I think they would be shocked to know. Like, your own husband has very drastically different opinions than you, and you're living under the same roof with him and being.
I don't think same religion, same type of religion. However, he thinks that some people are too extreme, or some people are weaponizing, or some people misinterpret the Bible. Is that drastic of a different opinion?
Being challenged, and you guys are pushing each other, and I think that's very interesting to learn about you. I didn't know that.
They're playing pickleball. If Paul loses it, there's no way, right? If Paul loses, he would not have uploaded this video. 100% if Paul loses, they would not have uploaded this video. They would have started a war.
Dude, no, this will just be fun, man.
18 weeks pregnant. Can I beat them?
Baby number 2 is gonna be a big boy.
No, he's tiny.
Don't hurt yourself.
This would hurt Paul. Whoa, that is crap.
Okay, he used his hands, all right? I had to make sure I was wearing matching socks for that. I used to do that all the time in my PE class in like the 6th grade because I thought I was cool. All right, your turn, Paul.
What is happening?
What the heck? What the heck?
Okay, Bethany, we've talked a little bit about like how you and Kristen have grown in your views and whatnot, and I feel like you all get pushback for growing.
I mean, the pushback for growing probably comes more from Christians.
Yeah.
Because they're like used to us being a certain way, and they like the, I guess, the more conservative black and white version of us.
I don't think Girl Define has gotten much better, but I understand that people who use them as a, no, these aren't just my bad ideas. There's other people. Look, Girl Define thinks this way. We'll have a problem with you moving away from those ideas. I would love to be able to say they're not problematic anymore, but they are. They're just different in some ways.
We've been accused of, you know, like conservative Christians are like, we can't follow y'all anymore. You're basically like becoming feminists. And it's like, have you seen like all the stuff we're posting? Yeah.
That's kind of like a big claim. Like, you guys are becoming feminists. What are they going off of?
I don't know. Like, if we're not super hard on everything, like how a dating relationship be pure, just like anything, it's like it's not necessarily like feminist stuff, but they just view us, if we're not ultra conservative, then we have to be like feminist, you know, or if we're not ultra conservative, then we have to be deconstructing. Like, if we're not,
there's no middle ground.
Yeah, there's no middle ground. It's like very, very extreme. But at the end of the day,
Do you think these like extreme Christians that they're dealing with sound to them like they sound to us?
we're not trying to be like the Holy Spirit for people and tell people what they can and can't do. People have specifically accused me of being like, oh, you're really becoming, you know, more of a feminist and stuff. Like, oh, Bethany, she's taking steps, she's almost there. And I always crack up because I'm like, what? Like, I am still like an extremely passionate like Christian. Like, everything I do is like coming from an extremely passionate Christian view. Like, I don't know what it is that makes them like.
Also, being Christian and being feminist are not opposites. You can be a Christian feminist or a feminist who is Christian.
That's hilarious.
So
That's kind of what that's what the haters are hoping for. They want you to be there. So they're like, she's almost there. And then the Christians are like, she's there. She's too far gone.
But like the haters, they would only be happy if it were like a full deconstruction. And then like going out and like hating Girl Defined or making apology videos or whatever. It's like,
I don't think any of that would actually fix anything because like you don't get to just be a bad person for a decade of your life, more so, but a decade on the internet and then just be like, oh, my bad. It would definitely like help your image if you did apologize for some of the dumb ideas you do have and then keep going, I guess. But I don't think anyone cares deeply enough about Girl Defined to be like, I hope they change. Like, nobody thinks about Girl Defined more than Bethany and Kristen / Brittany.
I'm, you know.
Whoa, that was a big one.
Why is it so fun for boys to like throw things
don't
on your
know.
head?
But Luca is literally obsessed with throwing things at us. And I'm like,
Why do you want to destroy us?
see my life flash before my eyes.
I got a question on that.
Yeah.
Your kid knows you're a feminist now. Just chucking rocks. Down with femininity. Go back to the kitchen.
So, you know, we're talking about the haters. They say something like, Kristen and Bethany's views are still problematic, and again, these are the hate videos.
Yeah.
Still problematic, but I am seeing progress with them. From my research, I'm seeing a trend of that. How does that make you feel, and is that a good thing that they're saying that?
I don't take that as a compliment.
I mean, it's not, right? Like, -10 and -8 is still negative numbers. I think they're probably not less problematic. I think they probably stopped saying those things, whether or not they still think those things. The trans example is just a really, really easy example to bring up. There's not going to be a future video where, again, Bethany runs into her car out of breath and goes on an anti-trans rant. That doesn't mean she's not transphobic anymore. It just means she knows not to say it out loud to the internet.
Well, because what do they want? You know, what is progress to them? We are really trying to have more of like okay, the gospel is the most important thing. Secondary issues, like instead of saying like this is the way, either that's our opinion or, you know, and I guess they view that as progress, moving away, I guess they view that as moving away from scripture, but the reality is we still have very strong convictions and beliefs. We just don't necessarily always put them out there in the same way. Maybe we're not as far as they actually think we are. I mean, Kristen and I have a book coming out in the fall, and it is
shout out.
It is like so hardcore girl defined, but in like the best way possible, and I'm so pumped about it. It's like everything, like like if you have read the first book, Girl Defined, and
a book is a good way to get these ideas out, because only like the hardcore Girl Defined actual fans are going to want to buy the book. And so they can be extreme and be like these regular versions of themselves without having to face the backlash of the greater internet, because I'm not going to buy their book.
You're like, wow, that was a lot. This book is going to blow your mind, though. Whoa! Because it's like, it really is. Nice. So we're not going anywhere.
How does it make you feel? Because I was watching a video today. Haters, criticism videos. You guys get a ton of it.
Girl Defined, once again.
Girl Declined.
Oh, it's Anna Marie. God, I love Anna Marie, dude. She's so cool.
2.
Girl Defined.
The new Girl Defined video.
Girl Defined posted a video.
No, I saw a video. I know I did. 33 million views reacting to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, first off, what do you think is so appealing about people watching videos on you? Like, why is there so much interest around you guys?
I'm going to answer that question for them because I don't know if they have the self-awareness to do so. And if she does, I'm going to let her prove me wrong. The reason people like watching videos about them more than they like watching their videos is because they like having a community to laugh around them and about them. We as like regular everyday people get to be like, oh, that's weird. That's a weird thought to have. Unfortunately, they are circus animals. It's the same as Sister Cindy when she goes to like a college campus and she starts like preaching. People don't gather around her because they want to listen to what she has to say. They gather around her because it's funny. It's a spectacle. Oh, she's playing air baseball and it's easy to make fun of her. People don't actually care about what these people have to say for the most part. They obviously have their audiences, but there are larger audiences that just want to sit there and make fun of them. Or be like, you see this too, right? I'm not tripping. And so I think it was Cody Ko, right? And Cody Ko has his own problematic behavior, who made like the original video of them that blew up.
I mean, honestly, I have been trying to figure that out. I don't know if it's like the dumb blonde stereotype or if it's because like we're...
Has nothing to do with you being blonde. I promise you, it's just your ideas. As much as like people make fun of Girl Defined for all of their ideas, I think it's pretty rare for them to be made fun of for how they look, unless they're being compared to each other, which is not something I do, but I have seen other people be like, oh, one of them's a pretty one.
Sisters, like, I've wondered that. Like, why is there just like this explosion of people that love to make cringe videos about us? What do you think?
Because you're cringe. You put it together because you're cringe. Because the things you say and the way you say them are cringe. When you put them in a context of religion, nobody makes fun of like regular everyday priests or pastors going up and giving a sermon. But when you have the mega church ones, or when you have people being like, I was afflicted with the gay, I prayed to God and God said, try it one time. So I did. I liked it, but I don't think I'm going back. Those people get made fun of. That's not religion. People, for the most part, do respect just the idea of religion and your freedom to practice. But when you are a parody, a caricature and a parody of the worst parts of religion, people do just want to make fun of you.
You guys were some of the first ones, and you guys were, okay. You all are very bubbly. You're very bubbly.
Energetic.
Like I already said, from jumping in.
They're poppy, right? They're this bubbly soda that has absolutely no flavor. I tried one, okay? It tasted like I smelled a strawberry a week ago.
In the podcast with you guys, you turn it on and it's like, well, like high energy. I wonder if some people would say like, they're making their lives look so perfect and bubbly, and it comes across fake.
People have said that, which is, it's who we are online and like on social media and stuff. Like it really is like a very accurate representation of like our personalities and stuff. Like,
not a good thing.
People have caught that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm probably more bubbly and more energetic and loud than Kristen. And people have caught those things about her personality. Like, I'm more spontaneous. She's more well thought out, you know? So it's like those things, those are true about us, you know? So like the high energy, the fast talking, like that's always been. But people also have a lot of other misconceptions. Like people think our family's like super wealthy or that we were just handed everything. And so we're extremely spoiled, like these privileged kids. And we've talked so much about like, our parents literally moved to Texas with like $300 and their like really old beat up car, started a business from scratch that provided for all 8 of us kids. Like we grew up in an extremely small house, always drove old cars. Like I don't know why people think we're just like these super stuck up, like fake plastic people. It's like, where'd you get that idea? Like
That's
we're not.
so interesting because like people have.
I've seen a lot of criticism about them. I don't go deep into like the Fundie channels, like the Fundie Fridays. I've seen little bits of, but I haven't personally seen anyone be like, oh, these 2 people grew up rich. And I never had that thought either. With them, I just focus on what's in front of me, and what's in front of me is 2 people with bad ideas, saying them very loudly. If I was Kristen, I would not let Bethany upload anything without my approval. And they should have thought of that 8 years ago.
Said that about us, and so I wonder if just like people just assume
Yeah.
that like influencers or social media people are just always like come from rich families and lots of money. And
No, we're
they're
not from
thriving.
Utah. We don't have that rich
We're
Mormon
not-
gene. I'm sorry.
Whoa, Dave's laughing. Get him, get him.
It's because all the Mormons are like all wealthy, all the
LDS,
Mormon influencers. LDS.
Okay, so intimate life.
Completely unrelated, but I did see a whole documentary on like people starting businesses in Utah like 2 days ago.
Intimate wife.
The Intimate Wife Instagram. Well, okay, first of all, you started on your own Instagram page.
Yeah.
Making content all about sex. I'm saying it quietly because there are children around.
I want to know how long ago that was, because she was very much someone who was not having it for most of her adult life, right?
Get away from the children.
And you ended up like basically like being thrown in Instagram prison, first of all.
Yeah.
So that's insane and weird. But you also, I feel like, probably receive a decent amount of pushback from Christians being like, you're being way too edgy, you're being way too open about sex, and you're taking away from the gospel. Like you're taking away from what you could be discipling young women on. How do you go about that and like people telling you how to run your platform?
In 2025, as a parent, you should understand that your children are going to learn about sex with or without you. That's it, with or without you, and way before they probably should. These children have phones, iPads, the internet at school, access to libraries, their friends' phones. With or without you, they are going to learn about sex. So there is zero reason why, as a parent, period, let alone as it doesn't matter where you are on the religious spectrum, to not want to educate your children on safe sex, because they're going to learn about it from the internet, probably from Twitter, and that is not what they should be learning. And you can't stop that. As much as you want to just be like, well, I'll just avoid it and it'll never happen. It's going to happen. It's too late. I didn't have the internet until I was almost a teenager, but these kids have it immediately. Even if you don't give them an iPad, their friends have them. Their school has them. These kids have them. As a parent, you should just be like, I will teach my child about sex. And so I don't care who you are. This is specifically about Christians, but there is absolutely no room to be like, oh no, don't talk about sex. Sex is bad, whatever. If we talk about sex, they're going to have them. And the Bible Belt itself, where people don't talk about sex, has extremely high teen pregnancy rates. Like, there are actual numbers, actual statistics, actual rates of these things. And if you just paid attention to anything other than yourself and a misinterpretation of a book, you would be able to learn something. That's it. I don't really like Girl Defined, but I will defend their right to talk about sex. I think it's stupid that she gets on here and be like, don't be like me, you know. I was a sinner, a masturbator. You don't do it. You're going to hell if you do. But they have a right to do so.
That and like people telling you how to run your platform.
People have a lot of expectations for what, like, I should say, for what Girl Defined should say. I would say, like, the majority of the response has been largely positive, but there's probably, like, 20% of people who are Christians who are very passionate that I shouldn't be talking about sex and that this should be something that's specifically just between, like, a husband and wife and the Bible, and that it's extremely inappropriate for me to be talking about it. And like I'm super careful not to share like intimate details, like and then this.
The problem with saying these conversations should be between husband and wife Bible is that the people saying that are the people afraid to talk to their spouses about it. So it should be normalized to the point where adults are able to have these conversations.
And this touch, but like about it. And like I'm super careful not to share like intimate details, like and then this touch, but like a lot of these Christians act like I'm literally like writing an erotic novel. That's definitely not the heart or the goal, to be like super graphic, but I guess what I do post, a lot of people would consider to be extremely graphic and erotic. So we just have different definitions of what that would be.
That's true, and I feel like a lot of Christians feel that way because they did not grow up talking about sex. And that's, you know, one of the reasons you're doing it is for those people who want to learn, who have that desire to have a healthy sex life.
People were so mad at me for talking about how I saved my first kiss for marriage. Like that's been people just like, you're so, you know, damaging and like all this stuff for telling, you know, even sharing that part of your story, you know, like how you shouldn't, and I'm like, that's just my story. I'm not saying other people have to do that. So then when I got married and then as I've gone, you know, on in marriage and started talking about more about like sex and marriage and stuff, now people are like, it's like you can't don't feel like you can win. You're like, okay, you're mad at me because I talked about saving my first kiss for marriage. Like that was too extreme. And now
I wonder what percentage of her response is aimed at people saying she shouldn't talk about sex the way she does versus people who are saying she shouldn't talk about sex at all. She should be able to talk about it. Adults should be able to talk about that. And if you have children who are growing up, you should be able to talk to them about it. But if she was defending how she specifically speaks about it, then I would criticize that, because in the previous videos that we've seen of her, I also disagree with the way that she speaks about it, with the way that they all speak about it. I don't know how long she and Dave were together before they got married, but I do have an issue with like Paul and Morgan rushing into marriage in order to have sex. Rushing in so fast that they completely missed having a honeymoon phase.
I actually talk about sex in marriage, and that's too extreme. It's just like, what, you know? And my question is though, like, okay, if other Christian women aren't talking about sex, who do you want talking about it? You know, do you just want it to be Google? Like, do you just like realistically? And the part that's hard for me is, you know, I see these hundreds and hundreds of women who go through the course that I created, the sex course where I interviewed all these experts, and I'm like, they're literally paying money to go through this. There's a need, you know, like they need this and they want this. So you might be over there like complaining, like, how dare you? But there are so many women who have had years of struggle, and it's like, where do you want them to go? They've never felt like they've had anywhere to go. Like, shouldn't we be celebrating that there are more Christian women talking about this rather than trying to like silence them? And I have people who tell me like, when will you listen to the voices? You know, you have people correcting you and giving you like wisdom to stop and to like shut this down and to not talk about sex anymore. And they basically act like because them and several others, you know, 20% of them online are telling me to shut down, that I'm basically just like this super rebellious, I don't care about wisdom because I'm not shutting down because they want me to. So it's just like, it's just crazy. I don't understand. Like, I don't know what they want for Christian women, you know? And like, what about their own daughter? Are they talking about like what? Who? It's just so mind-blowing to me.
Has there ever been a reel or post?
She's just right. We're not getting into specifics about how she talks about sex, but she absolutely should be allowed to talk about it, especially on her own platform.
Has there ever been a reel or post that you've made and after posting it and getting comments on it, you're like, okay, I went too far on that one?
I post things. Shameless. I post things and I don't think that they're a big deal in the moment. And then later it turns into a big deal. So
I can think of 2 videos where if I go back and watch them now, I go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Not anything problematic, but definitely something where it's like, maybe unnecessary.
Posted a reel.
Yes.
And I'll say it and everyone's gonna be like screaming. It was about Thanksgiving.
I knew you were gonna say that one.
We talked about that one.
I literally saw it pop up on my phone and I said, Morgan, Morgan, look at this.
Okay, I did not think about it. All I said is I asked Dave what his favorite dish was for Thanksgiving, and he said me. And I did not think it was the big deal. It was just like written on the text. I wasn't doing anything, so I'm like, I wasn't graphic. I just thought this was.
Dude, Christians finding out other Christians have sex is nuts. Who would have thought?
It's like a funny kind of spicy married wife joke.
You knew it.
I am genuine. Like,
I believe her that she didn't.
I promise 100%. I didn't, when I posted it, I was not thinking like this one will be a controversial, like this one is gonna, that's what happens. Like people, the ones, I do that sometimes. Yes, I do that. But like with that specific post, I was not doing that.
Yeah.
Like I was not doing that. But there have been posts where I do know I'm being like, poking, whatever. When I posted it, it wasn't a big deal. Yeah. And then later I was like, wow.
Okay,
like, people really didn't like that.
It's still
Is
up.
it still up?
Yeah.
Can we share it right then, just so people can?
Oh, we'll plop it in.
I feel like we got to. We got to. And then people can take it how they want.
That's it? It would have been so funny if the camera turned to him and then back at her and she's dressed as a turkey.
I really didn't though. That's a genuine. I get people's perspective on it, but like I still think that's okay. Yeah. Like I'm not ashamed of it, and I think that we need some humor and some fun in the conversation too, or else it's like, I don't know, how about passion on marriage? You know, it's like.
So yeah, I mean, I remember when Paul showed me, and I was like,
you were shocked?
Well, my
I was like,
Oh my god, I remember when Paul showed me and he went, people do that? Every day, I just feel more and more bad for Morgan.
Because
stop the brain.
Because you had made a post in the past, and I appreciate a lot of your posts because I'm like I appreciate that she's willing.
He does.
I do. I appreciate that she's willing to destigmatize something for the Christian community that some of them have a really hard time with.
We're in full support.
We
Some posts. I'm like,
I did not realize how controversial aspects of intimacy could be. Like genuinely, it's not until I started talking about like intimacy and you know, different things within intimacy that I realized like, wow, this is very divisive amongst Christians. Oh my goodness, in my mind, it's like, it's husband and wife. Like, enjoy what you want. Like, why are we trying to, like, I do not get it. Like, if it's between
One of them, and I don't remember which one, it might have been a random fundamentalist on TikTok. They took the Bible quote about not desecrating your bed in marriage, right? Which is, I think, to say not to commit adultery. And they said, my interpretation of this is to say that there's nothing you can do wrong in having sex between a husband and wife. No matter what kinks you have, how you do them, the actions that you do, if it's between a husband and a wife, it's okay. And they received backlash because they were like, that's about adultery, but okay. But like, yeah, I mean, do whatever you want. You're two consenting adults. You happen to be married. I don't understand the justification for being mad at that from other Christians. Wait, you guys still have sex after you have children? How dare you?
the husband and wife and they're both on board, you're not bringing other people in, like all of those basics, like what is the deal? So it's just shocking to me. And there are people I know, like we have had it out like in the DMs, and they are just like, they like basically
Christians?
like people I know from my past who have basically like come to my DMs to tell me even things like using lube, like that's like, you should not, anything besides like the basic act is like wrong, you know? And it's just like, where are we getting these ideas from?
This is not a part of the conversation. It doesn't have to be, but in like that instance, there are people who don't self-lubricate efficiently because their bodies just don't do it. Oh, dude, I wish we could get people like Bethany to understand who these Christians are to her. She is to like regular Christians. Like she has such extreme, unagreeable ideas, and she makes people feel the way that they make her feel. And I think that might get through to her in some way. I don't think she'd believe it.
True.
It's really crazy.
And then you just feel sad for them.
But all of those people claim, like, we've been married for this many years, and from day one, it's been the best. And you're just like, well, I don't believe it.
Hey, Morgan, it's so funny. You look very short.
Of course I do.
No, can we get a back-to-back? Can we get a back-to-back?
I meant to get a thing. We'll have to do this tomorrow night where I'm standing in between you and Kristen.
Oh, yes.
I'm 5'8", guys.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the fascinating thing about the sex advice content is we're all walking a line with it, and everyone thinks this is where the line should stop. And it's like, you're putting yourself out there with the hope of helping Christian marriage sex lives, and there's not a lot of content out there.
Yeah.
So you're taking risks, and I would just hope that the audience could give you some grace of like, I support you. Oh, you went maybe a little further than I would have gone, but as a whole, well done.
Yeah. I don't really feel like there's that balance, you know?
This is like when we watch men give each other advice on what women want, because actually what they think of each other, like things that women don't care about, but other men do. The people here that are judging you based on this sole act are other Christians. It's not people. It's not the audience, general audience of people who make fun of you. It is other Christians.
Is that too much to ask?
That's the whole point of this project is like waking people up to see like you don't have to agree with how Bethany Beal does it.
Yeah.
Waking people up. Girl Define goes woke.
But you can still support the fact that she is pouring into the kingdom, just in a different way than you would, or that you feel called to.
And I'm sure you could literally spend an hour easily just going over testimonies of there was this Christian couple and they were suffering in their sex life, and you, because it's such a huge part of marriage.
Can I pray for us?
Oh, dude, love to.
Paul, are you surprised you're still?
Oh, dude, blesses my heart. It warms my heart.
God, thank you for our friends, and thank you for this food, and thank you for Bethany making it. Pray that you bless it, bless our time. In Jesus' name.
If there was like one YouTube channel that you'd say is your favorite, who would it be?
Mostly I listen to Megan.
Chad. Gabby Bell. Gotham Chess, just because he uploads daily. Pasta Coma.
Foot cramp! Foot cramp! Oh no!
Some helper.
That's not a foot cramp. That's a devil. That's a devil because you talked about sex.
You guys are too happy and joyful.
That's the weird thing though. It's like
Miserable.
Kristen and I have both been through like hardships, you know? Like, I mean,
Kristen and I have both been through hardships, you know, like having to hang out with each other.
I'm not complaining about getting married at 30, but like for a lot of single women, like they'll talk about those years before they got married, like how awful and horrible they are and stuff like that. And I think because even though those things were hard for us, we like really find peace and like rest and trust in the Lord. And so it's not like faith altering or like we just are going crazy. Like getting angry at God and stuff has just never.
I'm just on a different side of the internet than they are. I know people who are unhappy with being single, but it's not marriage, it's partnership. I would like to think that my generation has moved on from getting married as an end goal in life. And it's still a big goal for people, but it's not like my life is fulfilled once I'm married. It's now much more important to marry the right person. I'm going to cut out a lot of parts here. It's a lot of them just talking, but also they get into the conversation about Bethany's experience with miscarriages along with her sisters, and that's just not something that I have a lot to say about. It sucks that they have to go through that. It sucks when anyone has to go through that.
I kind of asked this because it's definitely happened with Morgan and I, and does happen with us. People online like to decide which one they're going to agree with more than villainize the other person. And I was kind of reading comments on a video, and
I disagree with that. I think people online recognize one person may be worse than the other. And in their relationship, it is Paul. Paul villainizes himself. The audience recognizes that. Paul makes bad decisions and blames the outcome on God's will. And when Morgan doesn't respond the way that he thinks is appropriate, instead of being like, sorry that I messed up and made you feel bad, he goes, I need you to apologize for the way that you reacted to what God wanted for us.
I hope Bethany's husband finds happiness.
Oh, I heard that one before.
That's been our story. I hope Morgan finds happiness.
Yes.
Dave seems like a likable person, but I do have to remind myself that who Bethany is, someone who agrees to be married to her also has to have a lot of those bad ideas. So he can deconstruct and move away from religion, but unless he recognizes it and leaves, he can't be unmarried from a problematic person. Lee and I are reflections of each other. If she, for whatever reason, has a bad idea, I would bring it up to her and I would tell her about it. I would disagree with it. I'm lucky enough that she doesn't. If I say something dumb, she will tell me that I said something dumb. I could not marry someone who was homophobic, transphobic, racist, whether or not it was intentional, and it has to be at some point once you're an adult. And especially not if the whole internet is saying, oh, that's weird. And then you go, nope, they're just haters.
Oh yeah, sometimes I feel sometimes I feel a little sorry for myself. Yeah, 100%. It's not
expound on that if you don't.
It ain't king energy, but it's something.
It's not what?
It's not king energy.
Okay.
It's not.
It's not king energy? Is that what he said?
Have you felt that way when you get all these messages of? No, let's be real. Like of messages of you, Morgan. What is it? I hope Morgan finds happiness. And that's said in so many different ways.
I would say that
Please say no.
I like the idea of just straight up, I hope Morgan finds happiness, always being against Paul. Paul being like, Paul reads, I hope Morgan finds happiness, being like, oh, they want her to leave me. I know a lot of the comments are specifically, I hope Morgan leaves, But I like the idea of just straight up anytime people allude to Morgan being happy, Paul is like, she can only be happy without me.
Please say, I'm being real. I hope these aren't sticking with you.
We're
gonna have a check. Like, Morgan can do so much better. That type of stuff.
No. None of that stuff is. I've never been like. Oh,
and then we're getting
right.
back to you guys.
And none of that stuff about like you're being mentally or emotionally abused. Like I'm like, you guys are idiots. Like I'm sorry, but idiots, total idiots. But I will say there have been times when like maybe someone has said something of like, I'm trying to think.
Oh no. Where's she about to go with this?
What is it?
Well, okay, this is just something that like Christians and haters will say of like, Paul cuts you off when you talk. Like, he's not like listening. Like he's not respecting your voice.
Paul is always so antsy to talk, and it cannot be performative if it's been their entire relationship. Every time she talks, he has to be like making a face or moving or like this is very much Paul's channel. He wants to run it. He wants to say what they do. He wants to pick what they talk about and then cut out the things that make him look bad. But he needs Morgan in order for people to watch.
But they like take it deeper and they're like, it's because he doesn't respect you. Blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that's the case, but I am like.
But then y'all talk about it? Like, are you like, why do you cut me off?
There are times.
I think he respects her within their marriage. I think he respects her as long as there's a constant recognition of him as a leader. I respect you enough to let you talk sometimes, but if you're wrong, I'm going to cut you off. Or if I have an idea, I'm going to get mine out because your opinions matter, but not as much as mine. And that's what their marriage is. And so that's where their respect is for them. But I think it's like two people, if I watch the way they interact, I would never want to be in that situation. I wouldn't want my sister in that situation. I wouldn't want any one of my friends to be either one of them. If any of my friends acted the way Paul does, I would not be friends with them. If any of my friends were in a situation like this as Morgan, I would be like, hey, the dude you're with sucks, dude. And he's bad at pickleball. Why is he always wearing a hat?
When like after a video, I'll be like, hey, like you cut me off a couple times, like, can you chill out? And he's like, you're right, like I'm so sorry. I'll chill out. And he does a good job with that if I point it out.
It's just like the way people take it deeper and they're like,
yeah, no, I've never sat around and been like, oh, they're right, I am in a terrible marriage. He is the villain.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Hey, that's fair. Like
Paul makes so many jokes. One of every like 40 lands, and he probably thinks he's so funny. He's been doing it this whole time and nobody's like cared, but this one time everyone laughed and he was like, all right, yeah, I'm the funny one.
I guess it's real life. To me though, in all reality, like that is a little bit scary. It's a little bit scary because it's not our friends close to us or people from church. It literally can be like multitudes online, sending DMs, commenting, making videos. So it's just the thought of that in circulation.
The stuff online, I think the part that gets like the comments and all of the messages, like I'm the villain, you know. And I think the only time it gets frustrating.
To be fair, I think Kristen would also be pretty bad if you ever let her talk.
For me, is if just being honest, is like when he's like it starts interacting with them, and sometimes I feel like starts like, oh, like they're actually really nice people and all of this, and almost like it feels like it's now like them against me. And it's less of like he's not upset or mad at me or anything. It's just more like, oh, we should be sympathetic. But at the end of the day, it's like in some of these cases, I feel like these people really do want they do want to see our relationship fall apart. Even though they might be like, we hope you and Bethany stay together. They don't really hope that. Right. And that's kind of become apparent with a lot of these people that.
So I'll agree with her that there are probably plenty of people who do want to see them go through bad things, including probably divorce, separation, whatever. Within their relationship and the relationship I've seen, I don't want them to get divorced. I don't want them to separate. I would like them to be, unfortunately, entirely different people, right? Like if she was a lot more like him, where he doesn't want to listen to these type of fundamentalist Christians, they would be a lot more likable. If she was less problematic, or at least willing to apologize for the problematic things that she has said, a lot more likable. I don't have to wish bad things to happen to her for me to also wish she was an entirely different person.
it's not. And so I think that's frustrating because I really don't believe they have pure motives or pure intentions or really care about either of us. Right. And so it's, to me, that.
All that being said, she's right. I do not care about either of them. I don't care about either of them as people, but I don't have any like negative intention towards them. They're unfortunately public figures. They're putting out videos on the internet and that opens them up to criticism. They have done pretty dumb things. They've said pretty dumb things. And it's more than fair to be like, hey, kind of weird that you made a whole hour-plus long video on masturbation and about how people shouldn't do it, even though you did. There are things that I don't agree with criticizing her about, but they're not really about her personality. Like, I don't care that she waited until marriage for her first kiss, but I do wish she was a better person in her ideas.
That's frustrating if there is, and this just be like being real. I want to feel like my man is like standing up for me and like he is like, you know, forget them. They're like, why are they coming after my girl? And so
I feel like within my relationship, if I am actually wrong about something, or I'm receiving a lot of criticism on something that I'm wrong about, first my partner would be like, you are wrong, and then comfort me. Not you're my partner, so I'm just gonna pretend that you're right.
So when you're like compassionate toward them, it's kind of like,
yeah,
how could you? Yeah, it makes me like I feel bad, like I choose to, but it's hard.
Yeah, so in order to deal with that, because I don't want to, one, compromise my own integrity by dropping the fact that I think that a lot of these people are not as evil as sometimes we talk about on the one hand, but I also do want to be a very strong rock for Bethany and stand up for her as her husband and all that. So typically my solution has been just to not talk, not have those ongoing conversations.
It's hard
but
because
we do have different views about this.
I guess
If you have to avoid conversations with your wife because you know you are going to disagree with her, I think it is more productive to have a conversation with your wife where you can maybe explain to her why you disagree with her. However, I said that out loud and immediately realized that Bethany would just take it as an attack. I don't want you to disagree with me regardless of what it is. I'm your wife. You will agree with me. Like she just said, I want my husband to back me up. I understand it in public. I wouldn't want Lee being like, no, he's wrong, whatever, in my comment section. But in private, I would want her to tell me if she thought I was wrong about something.
it's hard for me if I feel like, okay, you're building relationships, man, woman, I don't care, with people who hate me. I mean, it's like, I can imagine if I'm in your shoes, like it's gotta be nice to be the one with that they really like. And then if you're feeling frustrated at me for some reason, like, yeah, you are kind of right. You know, it's like, I can imagine if I were in their shoes, whatever, you know, it's gotta feel a little bit good to be the one that they like.
Yeah, I think they kind of see, from some of the videos I watched, I think they kind of see you as more progressive in your views and more open-minded, where they would they would look at.
I wonder what Bethany means by building relationships, because if this is all online, I don't see why he's interacting with people like in her comments. But if it's in person, that would be really, really weird for me to have friends or personal relationships with people who like actively disliked my partner for whatever reason. Why do they like me at that point? Is he speaking bad about Bethany in private?
Look at Bethany and be like, Bethany looks at the Bible and she proclaims what she sees to her following, and it's pretty black and white to her. And Dave is over here kind of looking like the mediator, like he's kind of coming our way. He doesn't see things so black and white. He's a very nuanced man. I think Dave could come our way. They're kind of, I think, rooting for you when they feel like with Bethany, like, she's probably never going to, but maybe we could get Dave. So I could see how that would sting for Bethany in particular, like these people, maybe they're not all horrible, but they're not looking out for our marriage.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like they would like to see me, they would love to see you leave me and go off and do something, and they'd love for my life to just, like, they don't just dislike my message, they don't like me,
That's large.
They don't just dislike her message, they don't like her. Is accurate because she is her message. There's no separation between the person on camera Bethany is when she has bad ideas and the person off camera Bethany is. She's not the dude who played Kylo Ren in Star Wars being cast into a movie where he has to say the N-word. She is a person who turns a camera on and is still the same person. So when those ideas are just a reflection of you. Yes, people don't like your ideas and they don't like you.
Largely, I think that's largely true.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel good for me to see you like, you know, trying to like, I don't know about these relationships as they're proactively telling you like, you know, we want you to have a happy marriage, but we would be, you know, we understand if you need to leave.
Because that was what they were doing with Morgan. Yeah. They were saying suddenly they really liked Morgan. Yeah. They were bashing us for 2 years.
Yes.
And then the video.
It sucks to see how unself-aware they are because people don't like Morgan. They just dislike Paul a lot more. And Morgan is sometimes quiet enough to where if Paul was completely removed, you could deal with her being there. But I don't think there are many people who like Morgan. So there was no sudden, oh, Morgan's cool, Paul sucks. They both suck, Paul sucks more.
Video gets made about me of being emotionally abusive, and then suddenly they love Morgan and they're saying, Morgan, how much do you need for me to pay you to get out from him, like get away from him? And it's like, oh, suddenly you're really supportive.
Money?
We could have maybe utilized that.
Could have been like, send me all the money.
But suddenly they're really friendly with you.
Get out?
Because
no,
they
it's still stuck, send more.
right.
Just a little bit more.
But also, isn't that like a cool thought to have? That if you were in a bad situation, people would help you?
It's so true though, yeah, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it was all so, for me, it was so clearly, I was just like, you don't give one hoot or holler about me.
Holler.
You love the drama.
I think they love the drama. I think that's a part of it here.
I want to kind of, there's so much that could be said about
this is a lot.
I can see, you know, the people who have made videos about us. Cody Cohn, you know, he kind of started this all off with like Girl Define. His video has like 33 million views or whatever. I hope he has a wonderful life. I hope he gets married and has kids, and like I hope he makes lots of money, you know? Like my kids will be very tall, your kids will be very short. But seriously, like I have no desire to like get on some channel and be like, turn Cody Cohn down.
And I totally
you know?
believe you.
Agree. But so the point is that I feel like there are some people in life, whether they're a fan or a hater or whatever,
somehow, within Girl Define and Cody Co, Girl Define is not the good guy. So, like, I have no desire to get Cody Co taken down, whatever. Like, you would lose so fast. There's 33 million people laughing at you and 10K wanting to defend you. And even now, if they made a video about Cody Co, they'd probably get more backlash than not.
They approach social media or people they see online, and the ones they disagree with, they like really wish ill on them, and they hope like, and then there are other people who don't do that. And so it's like, my thing is like, the people who are actively on these hater channels or on these Reddits or, you know, it's like, they have that gene of like wanting to see people like go down, wanting to see them demonetized, you know, proactively coming against like their sponsors are trying.
Okay, demonetized maybe, but like, I don't know. I wouldn't feel good about them losing their marriage or their house or like something happening to their kids. Demonetized, yeah, yep. I don't think you should be allowed to make money for being problematic. Whether it's them, Vitality, is that the guy? Boosie, that entire genre of people, Sneeko, like they should also be demonetized.
I think there's a lot of that energy there, just like but I don't necessarily think it's unique to that group. It is conceivable, I'm not saying that they all do, but it is conceivable that the haters are willing to tell you things about yourself that nobody else is willing to tell you. Unless you have the type of people in your life that will call you out. And a lot of us surround ourselves with people who will not.
He is so right. And if they had those type of people, Paul would not have tried to go pro in pickleball. Not because he physically wouldn't be able to, but because they would be like, hey, dude, you're taking too much time out of raising your children and taking care of your wife to do this, and it's not going to work out.
I feel like we are wise and we make sure that we have people in our lives to call us out when it's necessary. Even if it's one another calling each other out and you two calling each other out.
Sure, but you call each other out about how much he interrupts you, not about the bad ideas that you have.
Did he ever call you out for cutting her off before a hater?
Christians, followers.
Yeah, Christians would call you out. Well, there you go.
Several of our like solid followers will be like, Paul, stop cutting Morgan off.
Well, and those comments are helpful. Like we have people who follow us who share. Yeah. And even like people who work for Girl Define, like they will share, like our employees, like they'll share honest feedback or thoughts.
Honest feedback. Why are you always on your phone when Kristen talks?
About how things come across, And that's super helpful. Like the people that you know want to see, like even if they disagree, they want to see you do well or to make it better or to make it wiser. Those, and you can tell in the way they're messaging you, you know?
Paul is about to cut her off, but he's like, wait, that's not my wife.
In general, you shouldn't take advice from people who don't wish you well.
Right.
However, if you have integrity, you should be able to, you don't necessarily have to pay attention to haters, but you should be able to look past the fact that they're haters if they do happen to say something that is true.
Of course, yes, I agree.
If they say something that's true,
Well, I would agree with you, Dave, that even though we have people that would speak into our lives, like
if we apply that to Paul and Morgan, if so many people, and at this point you have more people laughing at you than your actual like audience, if so many people are saying, hey, Morgan needs to get out of there, as Paul, wouldn't you be like, however I'm acting towards Morgan on camera is so negative that people think she would be better without me. Maybe I should be nicer. Wouldn't you be able to take that criticism instead of just being like, oh, the haters? And then making videos where they're right, where you end up fighting and being like, yeah, sorry, we were fighting yesterday and it's just, we haven't gotten over it after trying to hide it.
we can have blind spots, and sometimes because of the communities that we're around and the people that support us, the blind spots can linger for a while, and sometimes it might take someone who's very far removed from that community to challenge us. Could that be someone off of Reddit or a criticism hate video? Potentially, but in the same vein, man, I really don't want to be spending much time paying attention to those.
I don't think it's worth, I think that, I wish that y'all would more befriend people rather than choosing to view them as the kind of the bad ones or whatever. I do think that there is a road to that. But I think that
is something that I will absolutely agree with, but not do. And befriend people that think so differently than me. Not because I'm afraid of the criticism, but because I don't like having friends. It just usually feels like a responsibility that I don't like. It gives me anxiety. I'm okay having like my partner and then people that I talk to sometimes.
You have decided to sort of play that us versus them game. I've started down the path of like befriending and like understand, and I'm like, okay, these people aren't just sitting there like with some sort of scary, they're just people, and
are you directing this at their channel and our channel?
I'm directing it at,
which is fine.
I'm directing it at all y'all to the degree that you want to just kind of write off whole groups of the internet. And I get that it's personal. I get that you've received more hate than I personally have.
I think too for like literal mental health, like to try and bridge the gap between the Redditors who literally send me death threats and tell me they are praying that my baby dies in my womb, like. I just don't have time to try to bridge that gap.
But no,
that's wicked. But that's not everything.
It's not indicative.
It's not indicative.
They're not going to get anywhere in this conversation talking about the extremes. 100%, I would agree with her in not even acknowledging the people that are telling her to have a miscarriage. But that is not indicative of 85, 90% of the people who criticize them, who have very fair things to say based on the way that they act with each other and at other people, especially in the videos that are like at the mall where they're just like talking to people. I like sitting here making fun of them, but I've noticed that in a lot of their videos, I have a much more serious tone than in some other videos. And I like that. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I am so glad that I'm not, I have to make jokes all the time, or, I have to be serious all the time, and I can just do whatever I feel as I feel it.
Indicative of every Redditor.
I think the Reddit subthreads are, from my limited interaction or understanding, is full of people who are reacting against all kinds of stuff that both has happened to them and that they have created in their own lives. And the reason why I'm like this is because I am like that in plenty of ways. I'm not willing to just write off whole groups of people because they say unkind things.
So I agree. I'm not writing them off.
It is so interesting to me to think of how someone like Dave may have ended up with someone like Bethany, because their way of thinking seems to be so different. And I wonder how their relationship kind of went. I'm sure that whatever she brought up, he seems to have been like understanding about. But I want to know, I'm so curious about how it all went down, I guess.
But I don't think the like online space is the place to do that. When I meet people, which I've met plenty of them in real life, they'll come and say hi or whatever. I like in person, absolutely. I would love to talk to you. I would love to build a relationship with you, but it's just too hard. That's why I think you're right about like people, when you're online, people, the lovers and the haters, they don't really know you that well. And that's why I think the biggest impact often comes from our real life relationships. Yeah. And that's why I'm constantly through Girl Define encouraging people to have real life relationships, get involved in church, all of that. But if I were to meet any Redditors in real life and they wanted to actually have a genuine conversation, like I am absolutely there for that. Like I hope to be able to have conversations with people who've made videos about us. Like I hope to be able to sit down and do stuff like that.
There's a video where she says the one person that they met was gay, and they were like, oh, that's weird. Also, there's a big separation between your friends and people online because there is no expectation of possibly losing your friendship. There are too many people. I've seen it happen in comment sections. I've seen it happen in my own Discord. I've seen it happen with Twitch relationships where one person says something that's just wrong, regardless of like where it is on how bad, right? Where one person is made a claim about something, another person says, hey, this is why you're wrong. The first person takes this criticism, and I'm trying not to be specific because they may watch this video, but the first person takes the criticism as like an attack, and then suddenly they just like can't be friends. That's a lot easier to handle online than in person when, hey, I disagree with something you have to say, but I can't disagree with you because I'm afraid that you're going to pull away. I'm afraid that you're going to take it as an attack and not want to be my friend or whatever. You should surround yourself with people who are good people and also willing to hand you criticism for any bad ideas you may have.
Somebody has to go first. Somebody has to be the first one to start a process like that.
I agree with you, Bethany, in that in-person, face-to-face conversations with those people who actually want to try and understand where we're coming from. Like we've had conversations with haters who I've sat down with people face-to-face and they've like been genuine of, I do want to know where you're coming from. I don't agree with it, and I've maybe commented some nasty things or whatever. Just like really like pushing back or whatever, but like I do genuinely want to know where you stand, and those conversations I think are very good and healthy. And we walk away still completely disagreeing, but like being like, you're human, I'm human.
Does your concept of them, you kind of just answered it, but your concept of them sounds like changes. In other words, they're no longer just a, butthole 335.
You say butthole?
No. They're now something more than that.
These people are not just, and again, I don't mean every single one, but a good chunk of them are not just, criticizers. They have inflicted very heavy.
That's hard to like gauge because they themselves are people who inflict damage in the way of like backing up people who may have bad ideas and need like an example of. So they're like, oh no, it's okay to be transphobic. God said so. Look, I have this video of Girl Define saying it. A problem I would have with possibly talking to them in person is that the conversations I would like to have with Morgan specifically are hypothetical. If you talked to her now and said, do you think you got married too young or to someone who was way too old for you? She would say no, because she is still in that marriage. If you say, do you wish you had a honeymoon phase? She would say no, because she didn't have a honeymoon phase. But if they were to separate and you were able to pull Morgan out of that, give her time to grieve, and then talk to her, hey, do you think you got married too young? I think she would have an entirely different answer than she would now. Not because she'd be an entirely different person, but because she would just be in a different situation.
Amounts of pain.
I agree with
on their, I just know for a fact, on them, on us.
Like ruining opportunities, trying to actually like make it impossible for like me to even like be in that space or have any success in that space.
The thing about like this is that I have no sympathy, for example, the people who you catch being racist online losing their jobs. And so I don't have any sort of sympathy or empathy for people who have spread these like negative, hateful things, ideas, beliefs, to then be held accountable for them. To then say, well, our criticizers want us to be stripped of monetization. You should not be allowed to monetize hateful rhetoric. Criticism? Absolutely. Absolutely. If they want to get on here and be like, this is what we disagree on with other Christians, or here are the criticisms we faced, here are criticisms of them or our thoughts. Yeah. But to get on here and be like, I'm going to do and I keep referencing that video because it's just like the most vivid one in my head, but to do a 10-minute rant on women, on trans women, and to be able to monetize that, I think is stupid.
All of that is absolutely ridiculous, and people that do that I think are idiots for doing that when they do that.
See, it feels good to hear you say that.
That feels nice.
Do you like that?
That does feel nice, seriously.
Yes, I'm very sorry that you have gone through that you have faced that. That's really... Thanks.
I've changed my mind a little bit. I want my spouse to agree with me, but I want to be right. I want my spouse to agree with me because I'm right, not just to make me feel better.
They sent us a chocolate penis.
What?
And he was like, how dare you send me this massive chocolate penis and give my wife unrealistic expectations? And it's like 4.5 inches. That's right, Paul. I'm on to you.
Yes, one time in our P.O. box, someone sent us a giant chocolate penis.
It could have been so much worse. I mean, that's actually not that bad.
Over or under, does Paul eat chocolate for the shape instead of the taste?
We did not eat it.
We melted it down to chocolate fondue. I think this might have been the
I love chocolate. I don't care what shape it's in. Yeah, like I'm just gonna eat it. Like I'm not gonna record it, but like, yeah. Imagine going up to Paul and being like, 99% of Jesus' body has been turned into crackers. The other 1% has been turned into chocolate. Open? Is he saying no? Does he hate Jesus? He doesn't want Jesus inside of him? Paul, you terrible, terrible Christian, you.
I think it felt therapeutic to me. Genuinely.
I really love your energy. He jumped in the cold plunge.
It's absolutely horrible.
He's up for stuff. He did the little
cartwheel
thing.
What is happening?
Y'all hearing this?
You've wanted more friends like this.
Girl-defined part of girl-defined, half of girl-defined.
Is she girl or is she defined?
Thanks, Pamela.
Dude, how tall is she?
Oh, the head pat.
I'm 5'8". Me and Morgan are the same height. Same weight class. Creator class 3. No, stop, alright? Give me Paul. I would do it. I don't care if he weighs 40 pounds more than me. I will do it.
One of our goals for filming with Bethany was to help humanize her to the viewers. Like we mentioned earlier in this episode, her presence online receives a ton of pushback and hate. We wanted to show a side of her that you have never seen.
We believe we accomplished that and more. We hope you feel more united with someone you may not see eye to eye with, but can recognize she is a sister in Christ with a heart to honor God.
It didn't help in that she just doubled down and then showed us that she was super unself-aware of why she was receiving that criticism.
I never hug a man twice.
I never hug a man twice. First time experimental, second time gay. It is what it is. It was what it was. It is what I expected. They hung out for a day and most of it was pretty boring, but I understand not wanting to respond or even acknowledge a lot of the hate comments, specifically about their bodies or even their marriage. That is entirely different than criticism. There are so many times where Dave brought up like how you guys handle criticism, and it would just be an entirely different conversation if Bethany was able to say, or Paul was able to say, or Morgan was able to say. There are times when the people who criticize us have been right and we change our behavior, but they don't. And they're going to fool themselves by saying that they have people around them that'll tell them when they're wrong, but they're wrong. If the most that they can fix is how you're constantly interrupting her, there are plenty of other things to fix. I wish specifically that Paul cared about Morgan enough to be willing to do so. If the entire internet goes, oh, let's get Morgan out of there, why wouldn't you be like, oh, am I not being nice enough to her? And as much as Dave has been like this voice of reason, this calm, well-spoken kind of mediator, I do have to remind myself that he made a very conscious choice to marry someone who was problematic, and him being seemingly rational does not absolve him of that. I wish nothing but for happy marriages between them, and I wish nothing but a happy childhood for their kids. I hope that they all work out. I just wish they would stop doing it online. I wish that they would stop sharing their ideas. They're obviously not, I don't want to say smart enough, but they're not going to take criticism and be able to go, oh yeah, maybe this is a bad idea. So if the best we're going to get out of them is to them just not making videos anymore, then that's what I'll ask for. Go be parents. Go raise your kids. Go enjoy your lives. I've been recording for over 3 hours, so I'm going to call it there. Thank you for spending time with me. It's my favorite thing to do. You're my favorite people to do it with. And I'm going to mentally prepare for You Season 5 to come out this week. I wish that they would take criticism seriously and not just dumb it down to, oh, the haters, oh, the Reddit comments, oh, there's so many people who are not just making fun of them, who are not just like, I hope they get divorced, who are not just like, oh, I hope your husband does better, I hope Morgan does better. But there are plenty of people who are like, hey, maybe not the best idea to like, blame your wife for your ideas. Maybe not the best idea to go, oh, well, it's what God wanted. It would just be nice to see these people be people rather than consequences of the Bible and not their own actions. That's it. I've already said goodbye. You're not martyrs. You're not prophets. You're human beings. All right, I'm going to go take another 6 ibuprofen and then lie down. Goodbye.